All right, pick 14, the Baltimore Ravens go safety Kyle Hamilton. The Ravens were a tough one for us to slot, right? And who was going to be the pick there? And Hamilton, a guy that at one point was looking like he was going to go number 2.
Right.
And now he's at 14 for the Ravens. I think it's another shrewd Ravens pick. They also end up trading Marquise Brown for a first rounder. We'll talk about that one later, but let's talk Kyle Hamilton, his fit now with the Ravens.
Well, you've got to wonder, first and foremost, the Jordan Davis to Baltimore was a connection that was made a lot in mock drafts that went one pick ahead to the Eagles, who traded up to make that happen. I wonder, if that would have been Baltimore's pick had he been there. But look, Kyle Hamilton, he is a unique playmaker. He slid relative to expectations where we were talking about him as a top 5 player, in large part because his 40 times were not great, right? They weren't terrible for a guy as big as he is, but they weren't good. And if you're going to convince people to throw out the window everything they know about position value and the fact that safety doesn't really move the needle that much and draft this guy in the top 5, you're going to need to give them a complete, tick every box. Don't give them any reason to dispute that. When you run a 4.5, at the combine and then a 4.7 at your pro day, you didn't do that. You gave them the reason and they leapt on it, and now that's why you slide to 14. But you turn on Kyle Hamilton's tape and you see that it just doesn't matter if he runs a 4.7. It doesn't, because he's still got the range. The extra yards, the difference between 4.3 and 4.7, they're in his head. He sees the game better than other people. He reads it quicker. And in all areas, whether it's playing zone and making that, everybody's seen that one interception from Hamilton where he comes from the other side of the field to the sideline and not just makes a play on the ball, but picks it off, and great play. But he's also got plays where he's in man coverage in the slot and immediately is looking back for the quarterback, understanding where the ball's going to be and getting there. So Hamilton has rare skills in coverage and a versatility that fits perfectly in Baltimore's defense. And if any team is going to maximize what he does, it's going to be the Ravens.
How about the Ravens and their collection of players in the secondary? They added Marcus Williams, who is a true, pure free safety this offseason. They have Chuck Clark, who's a strong safety in name, but extremely productive, plays closer to the line of scrimmage. Another one, they move him around. We joked a couple years ago, they're starting positionless defense, which is, you're not a safety, you're not a linebacker, You're just, you blitz, or you play coverage, short, deep, you do different things. So they have 3 pretty, distinguished safeties, we'll say. You still have Marcus Peters, you still have Marlon Humphrey. They've always done a good job in recent years, I think, of having depth in the secondary and the way they like to play. We'll see if they keep it up as far as the blitz happy approach. They do have some turnover there on the defensive coaching staff, but are they going to stay aggressive? Are they going to stay playing that man coverage? But Kyle Hamilton can do all those things, right? Yeah. He can. I talked about it on the podcast too. We never talked about him as a tight end eraser and a guy that could just, when they play the Chiefs. Are we talking Kyle Hamilton versus Travis Kelce? Because those are you're trying to beat the Chiefs, right? You're trying to beat these teams in the playoffs. Hamilton can do that for the game if that's what you want to do. Man up against the tight end, play short zone, play deep zone. The 40 time, I don't think matters because the film told the story with Kyle Hamilton for sure.
It really did. And you're right. He can do all of those different things. I mean, he is a 220 plus pound, he's built like a linebacker, right? In today's NFL, that's linebacker size, not safety size, but he can play the slot. He can cover players in the slot and do a good job. He can play deep in zones, whether it's single high, whether it's two high. He can basically line up anywhere in that back 7 for Baltimore and do whatever it is they need him to do. And this is what made Minnesota's defense for years with Mike Zimmer. It worked because Harrison Smith could line up anywhere you needed him to and make any coverage shell function. Hamilton gives you that kind of flexibility. He's the guy that can be the linchpin in any coverage or any defense you want to run, and let him do that and let that entire defense sort of pivot around him.
I've been joking about my model. I've been joking about some of that, the projection stuff, and in recent days. But it's because if we just focus on one measurable, if you just focus on one thing, it doesn't make sense, right? So you want to kind of throw everything into the mix. And again, Hamilton's production and entire measurables mix, when you project him forward, it's comparable to all of the guys who have become good safeties in recent years coming out. The player from the Chargers, Adrian Amos from Penn State, Trayvon Merrick from the Raiders last year, their second round pick, Jamal Adams, all the guys who have become really good safeties over the last couple of years. Hamilton's right there when you combine production, when you combine it with measurables, and the Ravens are pretty keen to those numbers, I think. And, it's a really nice play at 14 for a guy just off the film alone, which is important, right? Starting draft season was thought about as a top 5 player.
And it's not like, look, Baltimore doesn't have a perfect record of picking defenders or anything like that, but they're one of the teams out there that you would have more confidence than most in being able to take an unusual player, an unusual athlete, and maximize what he does well. So I like the pick for Baltimore.
Same in Baltimore. We'll be talking about them in a little bit because they're making some power moves here on night 1 of the draft.